Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to the final live episode of Love at First Scent for today. It's episode 142. If you've tuned in live, thank you very much. But if you're watching the recording, thank you very much for doing that as well. First comment of the live goes to Angela. Well done. Druba says, was it that laborious to clean up after the dumpster fire? Let's just forget. This is a reference to a video that the live video that I did a few minutes ago, but let's not talk about it now. Keith says, yes, these should be much more impressive. Aha. People saying hello to each other. Joanna says, oh, hello again. Gunmetal says hello. Right, so for the final episode today, we're going to relax a little bit and take our time. Maybe head for a sort of 15-20 minute mark with this video. Ostensibly, I would like to talk about this one perfume called Vanille Havane, Vanilla Havana, I suppose, from the brand Les Indemodables, which I'm sure I'm not pronouncing very well. But I would also like to talk about the brand as a whole briefly, if I may. So taking a step back and putting this into context, I should also just quickly say, please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so, and leave a question or comment at any time, whether you're watching live or the recording, because I get round to them in due course. And also do remember to click on the little bell so that you get notifications of new videos. Lots of hellos coming through. Lulwal saying you've been missed. Thank you very much. That's really sweet. And people having a conversation with each other, which is fine. So putting this into context, a few weeks ago, you will remember that I interviewed Barbara Herman, the founder of Eris Parfum and the author of Scent and Subversion. And I think at one stage during the interview, I asked her where she thought some of the more interesting developments in perfumery were taking place. And she gave an interesting answer, and that was fine. But then afterwards, she got in touch to say that she was really kicking herself because she wished she had mentioned this particular brand, Les Indemodables. And then she also went into the comments and talked about them because she feels so strongly about them, and they are also involved with Antoine, who of course is her perfumer. So she very kindly got me in touch with them, and then, to cut a not very long story short, they sent me their sample set, and I sprayed a few of them, and I just thought to myself, where on earth has this brand been? Why have I not been aware of them? And actually where they have been, so it turns out, for one thing, at Les Indemodables, the London-based perfumery, and as a brand, they've been around since 2016, although I'm not sure how long they've been at Les Indemodables. The slight irony in all of this is that the first one that I reached for was their rose, which is called Rose de Jamal. I tend to reach for a rose first. If there is a rose in a collection, I may reach for the rose first, or maybe an incense, because I kind of think, okay, well, let's see what the benchmark is here. And I was a little bit underwhelmed, and I think even now the rose is probably one of my least favourite ones. It is a great rose, but then I sprayed another one, and I sprayed another one, and I sprayed another one, and I thought, goodness me, thank goodness I didn't stop at the rose, and thank heaven I tried the others. Because generally, as a brand, they are of such high quality, and they are so layered and faceted and beautiful to wear, and interesting, and really respectful of perfumery itself. If I go through some of the press material, you will see that it is really, really devoid of nonsense and guff, and it just gets to the nitty-gritty of what the perfumes are about, and it showcases materials. It is all about specifying which qualities of which ingredients have been used, and it even goes into details of telling you how long the maceration for each perfume has been, and how long the maturation has been. So I think they're setting, or they have set themselves up with a kind of geeky bent, a geeky edge, you know. So if Frederic Malle as a brand had a sort of literary vibe, a literary aesthetic, this brand seems equally intellectual, but homing in much more on the craft and the process of extraction of materials and really making a thing of which materials have been extracted at what quality and in what way. The name, you usually get a few French speakers here. My understanding of the name is that in terms of its broad meaning, it basically means the classics, the timeless ones, the unchangeables. I think Les Indemodables means the ones that are beyond fashion, the beyond modishness. I think that's where the modable comes in. But somebody who speaks French better than I do can correct me. We will smell a few, and we will smell Vanille Havane because that's this year's release. So I would very much like to share it with you. Let's look at some comments though. ZZFF says, I love this channel so much. That's very sweet, thank you. So glad that I discovered it recently. So many new brands I've never heard of, and your experience in this field is very obvious, and your remarks are so well put together. Thank you, that's very, very kind, thank you. Great brand, says Q George. My favourite is Cuir de Chine. Yeah, that's a good one as well. There's so many of them. It's just so, I have a favourite as well. Gunmetal says, lol, Ashfaq, you outed me. Okay. Alice says hello from Hong Kong. Sheep Azure is also fantastic. Greg is saying hello from Ho Chi Minh. Wow. The name is a tongue twister for me, says Ashfaq. Fine. I've never heard of them, says Yura. Very tempting. Druba says, I'm glad you were happy to find such a brand, and that is a lovely shirt. Thank you very much. I'd love to get something like that for myself. Well, you're not having this one. And Angela says, can't wait to hear your thoughts on these. Gunmetal says, I'm going to douse myself in Vanille Havane while watching this. Oh, you've got a sample then. Druba says, for some reason, these have been popping up all throughout the Facebook groups. Would actually like to try them now that I know how complex they are. Interesting. I didn't know that. Olfactive Story says, hello. Hi. Nick says, Les Indemodables means never out of fashion. You are correct. There you go. So in the sense of almost sort of beyond fashion, classic. Thank you very much. I think it translates to timeless, not susceptible to fads. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Thank you. I've just tried this fragrance this week. Can't wait to hear your thoughts, says Olfactive Stories. And Maria says, hi from Philadelphia. Thanks for tuning in. So, a little bit of history about the brand that I'll give you as well, because I need to tell you who the founder is. But let's smell the vanilla so that we've actually got one perfume out of the way and starting to smell it. This is also a good opportunity for me to mention that on Persolaise.com, on the blog, you will find my Christmas gift guide for this year, and it's in two parts this year. Part one was just all to do with extraits. If you remember, I was in a little bit of an extrait mode earlier this year, a few weeks ago. So part one focuses just on extraits, and then part two is everything else. And one of the perfumes from here, the Oriental Velours, I've put on the Christmas list. So this is just a way of saying, if you would like some Christmas gifting ideas, then go over to Persolaise.com. I may link to that post in the video in the description below. But this is Vanille Havane from Les Indemodables, and oh gosh, look at the color of this stuff. Can you see? Already the smell is just. I took a look at how much these perfumes cost, okay, at Les Indemodables, and I did weep a little bit because I think they're about sort of 180, 190 pounds. For those of you who were watching the live video that we just did a few minutes ago, where we were talking about perfumes that were 340 pounds a bottle, but on which I would hesitate to spend, I would hesitate to spend 40 pounds. These at just under 200 pounds actually make me think, well, maybe if I sold one kidney, you know. But okay, let's smell this. Oh. Talk about tobacco, vanilla, overkill, and yet so sophisticated. There's a kind of interesting, plummy, fruity, ripe banana note coming through in a good way. There's the most gorgeous unguent stickiness. It's just oozing down, you know, like if you really overdosed the vanilla in some vanilla ice cream, or maybe made it a kind of vanilla and cinnamon ice cream. I need to stop talking like this because I haven't made myself any ice cream for ages, but this stuff is just oozing, and it's oozing carnality, and it's oozing an evening vibe, and that smokiness and the hay-like quality of the tobacco just links up so beautifully with the darkness and the smokiness of the vanilla. There is nothing cheap or crass or thin about the vanilla that's coming through here. I mean, it is just heaven. It's real, like, hot under the collar stuff. And I think it reminds me a lot of Anima Dulcis from Arquiste, which I was equally excited about. Although that, of course, had a strong chili and cocoa and chocolate note. It's just so physical. It's just so physical and so dark. Suddenly the lights feel as though they've been dimmed, and this femme fatale, or if you like, homme fatale, is like lurking in the corner with smoke. I mean, it is a film noir perfume. Which is the one? There was one actually. What's the Orson Welles one? Is it Touch of Evil? It doesn't that have a South American connection? I should know. Somebody will help me. The one I may be getting my film noirs mixed up, but I think it's the one with Marlene Dietrich, isn't it? Really beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Let's let this develop for a bit. Let me tell you a little bit about the brand from this booklet. No, I will not read the French version. The founder is a lady called Valerie. I'm sorry again about these. My French isn't great, but Valerie Pulverail, or Pulverail, maybe. For more than 20 years, Valerie Pulverail has been evolving in the world of perfumery. From her beginnings in sales, through her teaching in beauty institutes to managing the marketing and operations in a network of select perfumeries, Valerie has worked behind the scenes as well as on centre stage. In January 2012, aspiring to gain her independence, she gave birth to an ambitious project by creating Le Bistrot de la Beauté, the Beauty Bistro, in Annecy, in France, an elegant and friendly space designed around 3 areas: luxury perfumes, skincare and makeup. Its uncompromising guiding principles are expertise, counselling and education. This approach continues to attract more of the most trend-setting brands that are already available in this one-of-a-kind space. For the past 4 years, she has taken the time to listen to as well as educate her clients. Valerie has understood that once they have some education and awareness, clients look above all for long-lasting, rare and high-quality fragrances. She has met the needs and challenges her clients have proposed by taking a leap of faith and creating her own collection of perfumes, for which we should all be extremely grateful. So, the collection. Choosing one's perfumes is like putting together one's ideal wardrobe. Start with the classics, made from the best quality fabrics, the articles with which one cannot go wrong, crafted and cut so that they are untouched by time and trends. And that's a good point for me to interject and say the name is brilliant, because actually with a lot of these, you can see how, in a similar way to the original Frederic Malle perfumes, they hark back to the standards from yesteryear. So the iris one, the Iris Perle, Pearl Iris, immediately takes you back to Chanel 19. The Oriental one, of course, takes you back to Shalimar via Coco. I want to smell that one. The Fougere, such a beautiful Fougere. It's called Emerald Fougere. Fougere Emeraude takes you back to all of the best Fougères of yesterday. The Chypre is a very, very interesting one. So she's done this very, very consciously with Antoine Lee, reinterpreting and representing the classics for a 21st century audience. These are the same assets, it goes on to say, that the well-informed perfume lover hopes to find in the fragrances they wear, we can say. Valerie recognized this parallel between the fashion and perfume worlds, and so created her collection to offer clients the possibility of creating their own olfactive wardrobe. Beginning with the essentials necessary to any well-thought-out olfactive wardrobe, Valerie conceived of 7 fragrances built around the great olfactive families that gave birth to the grand classics. Paying homage to the roots of perfumery without falling into the trap of imitation, she dusted off compositional codes of the great olfactive families, playing with an overdose of ingredients or with unexpected combinations, while never betraying the foundations of these olfactive compositions. Her answer to this challenge was to create Les Indemodables, the timeless, it's translated as here, a collection that allows her to develop perfumes with real olfactive character, freed from fashions and trends. 7 perfumes at the time. Of course, we've got an 8th one now, haven't we? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, the vanilla is the 8th one. These fragrances are composed of some of the ingredients from l'Atelier Français de Matière, identified as Grand Cru. And it's this atelier that Barbara Herrmann, to go back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video, particularly wanted to highlight. These exclusive ingredients are the result of uncommon processes in the way raw materials are prepared before extraction, the fermentation and the sorting, in the specificity of selected land, and in the selection of extraction methods. Any or all of these may be used. Couldn't you like geek out on this completely? I'm just going to... They do a discovery set. I've just seen somebody saying, is there a sample set would be perfect? They do a discovery set. Google them now. Find them on their website. Let's read. So actually, the vanilla, I've got a little card here about it. So it says, vanilla is a mythical spice, one of the most precious and expensive extracts in the perfumer's palette. But its popularity through the inexpensive substitute vanillin has also made it one of the most misunderstood. In Vanille Havane, perfumer Antoine and Valerie Pulverail celebrate the singular ingredient vanilla by taking you on a virtual reality journey through its olfactive complexity. With an emphasis not on the one-dimensional confectionery sweetness many vanilla fragrances highlight, but rather on the authentic vanilla bean's dark richness, this perfume becomes Antoine Lee's interpretation of vanilla as an intoxicating fragrance with facets of rum, dried fruits, cocoa, cigar, and dark florals that reverberate on an ambery, leathery base. And it's definitely becoming leatherier as it goes along. Vanille Havane benefits from Les Indemodables' access to incredibly sourced ingredients extracted at Atelier Français de Matières lab using innovative green techniques that result in ingredients with exquisite qualities. And it says here that the unique in-house extracts used here are a Grand Cru vanilla from the Comoros, a Colombian cocoa. It says here an ultrasound extract. I need to get these people on for an interview so we can talk about an ultrasound extract. And also a Grand Cru jasmine, Egyptian jasmine concrete. And it says here that the maturation time for this perfume is 2 weeks and a maceration of 1 week. How many lots of 180, 190 pounds do you think I'd need to spend? They should do like 10 mils or something so that we could get like a 10 mil set. Maybe we should all write to them and ask them to do a 10 mil. I definitely want to smell at least one more. But let's look at some comments. Ashfaq says, I haven't seen you sing such high praise since Parlement de Parfum. Yes, but I think this as a range actually is stronger because Parlement de Parfum definitely has some that I like less more than others. It's a very cohesive range, but this is really strong. I actually actively dislike none. You know, even the rose I like, but I just didn't love the rose. More comments. Sounds like something Lou Reed would wear. Interesting. Jamie says, yes, touch of evil it is. Thank you very much. Charlton Heston plays a man named Vargas. Druba says, check lucky scent. Okay, Yura says, I'm a little bored of tobacco and vanilla, but with such high praise, I'm tempted to see what this is all about. And I think that's what this brand does. It takes these accords and these materials that we all think, oh yeah, you know, vanilla, tobacco, we've done that. And it makes you go, whoa, okay, this I haven't smelt before. And it just shows that you can do it. You know, years ago, I interviewed Mathilde Laurent. Actually, the last time I met her and the last time I interviewed her, which was a long time ago, in-house perfumer at Cartier. And one of the interviewers there asked her, how did they phrase the question? I think they said there's something along the lines of, what did she think perfumers ought to do nowadays to be really, really radical and innovative? And she sort of gave everybody a wry grin. And she said that she actually thought the most interesting and innovative thing perfumers could do at the moment would be to go back to basics. Because she said that a lot of perfume brands and perfumers have lost touch with the basic accords and the basic ideas that made perfumery so special all those years ago. And that they've forgotten that actually you can go back to them, and they are still full of potential rewards, and you can reinterpret them and make them relevant to today's audience. Olfactive Story says, this one is not linear. You need to check the dry down. It surprisingly worked really well on my skin. Great longevity. Thank you very much. I must have this one, says Angela Boye. One of my favorite purchases of the year, says Nicola. Oh, this one. Right. Okay. I'm not surprised. I like this house, says Eve Spider Smells. I need to try this one. And Gunmetal says, yes, Eve joined the club. Hi from Belgium, says Delphine. Thank you very much for tuning in. Love your video. So relaxing. That's very sweet. Thank you very much. And Davlonti says, sorry if I missed this, but the ones you've tried, which of the perfumes have you enjoyed the most from this brand? Okay, so let's talk about that now, because I would like to spray the one that I actually put on my Christmas guide, the one that they call the Velvet Oriental Velours. Get ready for this, folks, because this also just makes me break out into a swoon. And they're so beautifully diffusive as well, you know, diffusive in just the way you want a perfume to be diffusive. Just pause for a second. I so wish you could smell this. I so wish you could smell this. When I first tried it and I sprayed some on the back of my hand, I just sort of innocently went to Madame Persolaise and I sort of said, what do you think of this? And she went, oh, that's nice. I said, yup, that is nice. Now, okay, it's an ambery, spicy scent. But if you could imagine something that takes all the most sensuous, the most sinuous, the most slinky facets of Shalimar and opium. There's a lot of that kind of prunolly feel of opium and cocoa and maybe even Ambre Sultan, but without the smokiness, without the sort of herbal dryness. You get this, and it is, again, you know, if you were doing the kind of Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, Cleopatra remake now, and in the bit where Richard Burton goes to greet and meet Elizabeth Taylor in her boudoir, this is what the stuff would be smelling like. So, you know, you'd have the slaves fanning her, you'd have the milky bath, you'd have the flames burning, and you would have the incense cones smelling of this stuff. And they're so beautifully blended as well, which is of course a credit to Antoine Lee, because yes, you can pick out individual notes and individual ingredients, but then as soon as you start getting closer, you think you can't, and the way that freshness at the top is handled, presumably with some bergamot notes, you know, a la Shalimar with some citrus notes, is just so gorgeously done. This was just... This is what made me go onto the Les Senteurs site to find out how much they cost, and that's when I thought, ooh, that's really pricey for the moment. You know, you kind of can't justify spending that sort of money on yourself when Christmas is just around the corner. Let's read about this one, and then I will maybe do one more if we have time, and maybe take some more comments. So, Oriental Velours, very, very brief blurb here. A bewitching sensual fragrance for lovers of rare, high-quality fabrics. It says that this contains a high-quality Indian jasmine, a green Madagascan vanilla oleo resin, a myrrh oil from Somalia, a special vetiver oil from Haiti, and epicea oil from the Alps. This one has a maturation of 3 weeks and a maceration of 3 weeks as well. Angela says, ooh, I need this one. Yeah, I think we all do. Melissa says, hello from Texas. I wish I could smell them too. Yeah, all the way, sending you the smell vibes all the way to Texas across the Atlantic. Ashfaq says, now I like to compare the vanilla one against Van from not... I don't know that one. Dr. Flo says, hello from Tokyo. So what, Tokyo over there? It's not... I can't say... Ohayou gozaimasu yet, can I? It's probably, or maybe it's early. Is it early enough or late enough to say ohayou gozaimasu? Glad to be here live. Thank you very much for tuning in. It must be really, really early in the morning in Tokyo. My World of Fragrance is smiling. Veronica says, how is the longevity? Well, I was impressed with the longevity of all of these. Let's do one more. Let's do very, very quickly one more. The other one together with the rose that I was maybe like less wowed by was the musk, but it's a very, very skin-hugging, skin-friendly musk. I want to spray the Fougere, because the Fougere is a much maligned category, but this shows you what a Fougere could be and should be, because it's got the... It's got the roughness of a good Fougere, it's got the stubble, but it absolutely doesn't have the cheapness of things that Oh, hang on. I've got a Japanese lesson from Dr. Flo saying, because you should be asleep. So let's try that. I can't speak Japanese. So is it oyasumi nasai? Does that pass? Oyasumi nasai. I always find you have to make your vowels really, really hard and defined in Japanese. Of course, inflection is everything. So I could also have just been really rude to you. So maybe I shouldn't say any more. Um, it's got the fantastic bitter sage-like herbal notes. Wow, that's so good, Dr. Flo. Arigato. Thank you very much. Um, I would love to go back to Japan one day, actually, but let's not talk about traveling because, of course, that is the thing that is so high on my mind at the moment when you can barely leave the house. But the Fougere Emerald, I like the fact that it's called Emerald because I think it's got quite a marked sage note, and so the green ties in very well. Such a strong range, such a strong range. The chypre is beautiful, the iris is beautiful. You've got to check them out. Do yourselves a favor and get the discovery set. It says here a 21st century fougere that displays the sophistication of tailor-made pieces designed by haute couture's best designers. Oh, and I hadn't read this. Apparently, it contains a lot of an Indian tuberose. Actually, that makes sense. That kind of camphoraceous, sharp greenness. Yeah, that completely makes sense. A fine French lavender, Venezuelan tonka bean, Moroccan mimosa, and clary sage oil from the Alps. So good. So thank you, Barbara Herman, for putting me onto this brand, and thank you everybody at Les Indemodables for making these gorgeous scents. I'm going to do what I can to get somebody from the brand, a representative from the brand, to do a live interview on the channel because we need to hear directly from them about all of this work. Right. So, last look at comments. Hello from Boston. Love your review, says Jen. Thank you very much. Gunmetal says, I love Fougere Emeraude, but sadly it became a skin scent quickly on my skin. Spraying on a shirt collar helps. Aimson Moon says, rest in peace travel. Yes, maybe domestic holiday will become a thing again. Can't wait to take a trip out to Blackpool in the summer. I can tell you are loving this one, Persolaise, says Euro, which is a good point at which to stop. So thank you very much for tuning in. Stay tuned to social media for details of next episodes. I'm trying to get some interviews lined up between now and the end of the year. Last comment though, let's read this one. Jamie says, speaking of traveling, could you make a video talking of fragrances that remind you of countries and cities that you visited? I like that idea. Thank you very much. Be good, stay safe, and hopefully I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.